Hundreds of people around the world believe that we are regularly visited by aliens. No, I don't mean these pesky aliens who try to sneak across our borders so they can pick our lettuce, clean our toilets, and do the jobs that we don't want to do. I'm talking about real aliens, extraterrestrials, ETs. But why did they come here? Why do they return? And what do we have that they want? We're north of Kona on Hawaii's Big Island. We've come here to investigate reports of extraterrestrial tourism. Tourism? Well, think about it. If aliens truly have been here for thousands of years, and if they really did teach our ancestors how to make linoleum and Pez dispensers, wouldn't they want some time off just like we do? You work hard all year, zipping through wormholes, so you put in for a few weeks off to lay in the sun and go snorkeling. Natural. And I think we found confirmation of that here on Hawaii. The first thing you notice when you come to this island is the miles and miles of charred, barren ground. What developer in his right mind would build a resort here? Unless, of course, this was intended to keep others away. There can be no doubt that this alien landscape was caused by the landing of numerous motherships sometime in the distant past. However, mainstream scientists will have you believe that this is volcanic rubble, that these islands were formed by molten rock bubbling up from somewhere inside the Earth. If you think that everyone agrees that the Hawaiian Islands were created by volcanic activity millions of years ago, just ask a fundamentalist Christian, or any conservative Republican for that matter, and they'll tell you that that theory is just about as believable as evolution or global warming. Isn't it just possible that these islands were created as a vacation destination by ET visitors at some time in the distant past? Perhaps we can find proof in the islands themselves. Scholars will tell you that many of the world's prehistoric sites align with Orion's belt. Well, look at these islands. All you need to do is overlay Orion's belt, twist it, and stretch it a little. Well, you get the idea. Can this be accidental? But what physical evidence do we have that suggests alien intervention? This hotel is a good place to start. Pyramid shape, a dead giveaway. Strange captive creatures, and lots of stairs. Have you ever noticed how the structures built for the gods always have all those stairs? You'd think that if these guys could cut stone with the precision of a modern power diamond saw, that they could put in an elevator. Anyway, the first morning I got up early to record the sunrise. I wanted to document how the shaft of light illuminated just this spot on the hotel wall molding. Later in the day, esteemed author and hairstylist Professor T. Bones pointed out other anomalies at the hotel. Notice how the streams of light and shadow line up perfectly with the sun at 10 o'clock on the 22nd of May.
Alien hors d'oeuvres.
It's an accepted fact that in the ancient Hindu texts, they describe their sky gods, extraterrestrials, as riding around in skyboats that they call Vimana. Can the name of this boat behind me be a coincidence? So, who are these extraterrestrial tourists, and what do they look like? Well, these guys would be an obvious guess. I mean, the face, come on, grays. For sure. You look at them swimming around, I mean, flying saucer right away, right?
We asked Professor Bones what she thinks.
I know nothing about turtles, but I do know that the natives think that these petroglyphs they have here are pictures of extraterrestrials. But mainstream science thinks that this turtle is a turtle. I sort of agree with the natives. Although I have not actually seen it, this petroglyph. I had a nail appointment.
You know, I think these grays that are floating around out here, I think they're probably the old breed. They're probably the old guys, the guys that were here thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. The new ones, I think, just kind of try to fit in. Let's go look for some of them.
I'm done. I'm done doing this. I have someplace else to be.
So we set off on our own to find more proof. And in the small town of Kailua Kona, we were lucky enough to spot what appears to be a well-camouflaged alien mothership moored in the bay. And on shore, we discovered her equally well-disguised all-girl alien crew. We met this paranormal investigator. He preferred not to be identified.
I learned everything I know from the streets, riding freight trains. Wisdom people.
He claims to recognize extraterrestrials on sight.
And you know Dean Martin. He's always up to something.
Dean Martin? An extraterrestrial? Jerry Lewis, maybe. In any case, we don't have the 60 Minutes type resources to investigate Dean Martin, so we moved on to the mountains. Our first stop was a coffee plantation. There are some who thought that the ancient aliens were the first to bring coffee beans to this planet. Coffee beans, if you look at them, are pretty suspicious. After several days and numerous detours, the trail led us to a rumored prehistoric petroglyph field, where we were scheduled to reconnect with Professor Bones. It's a pretty arduous hike into the petroglyph field. Professor Bones was going to meet us there. Unfortunately, she only brought heels with her on this trip, so we had to try to catch her on her way to the beach. She explained to us the meaning of some of these glyphs.
Because people, even included the scientists, myself, we get petroglyphs and petaphiles mixed up, and we're putting the wrong ones in jail, I think, and they'll do anything to get in disguise. They'll even wear antennas on their heads. See? Proof, we've got blue antennas sticking out here. That could be a petaphile.
Back at the petroglyph field, I used my iPhone to send some revealing images to the professor.
These petroglyphs, they look just like a television set, except the television is showing Cecil and Beanie. And then for just moments, it's Kukla, Fred, and Ollie. Really weird. No explanation.
We also discovered thousands of petroglyphs created by the contemporary natives. What can these mean? That evening, we met with the professor again and made another important discovery.
I think we've just discovered something that's never been reported before.
Bar circles. The next morning, the search led us to one of the most intriguing mysteries on the island. These grass formations, some of them hundreds of years old, were first discovered in Scotland. Now they're found all around the world in almost every country. Many have intricate stone carvings like these, similar to those found at Pumapunku in Bolivia. They would be difficult to duplicate with today's technology. The question remains, why would the natives build these complex grass fields that can only be seen from the sky? I hid in the bushes near one of the fields and managed to film these men, probably alien security guards who patrol the perimeter in well-armed rovers or carts. They are spaced out, 4 to a team, and seem to circle the entire enclosure at regular intervals. I have to speak softly now because the men in carts have noticed me and I think they're coming this way. He's taking something out of the back of the cart. They keep weapons in the quivers of the back of the cart, and it looks like he's taking one out now. He's looking for me. I don't think he knows where I am. He's shooting something. It looks like a hostess snowball, like the one Professor Buczkowski described in his paper. They've seen me. They're coming this way. I'm having trouble breathing. Something in the snowballs. I was more determined than ever to make the trip to the mountain observatory at the center of the island. I wanted to meet Professor Buczkowski, the man who had originated the revolutionary and controversial hostess snowball theory. The year was 1971, near the end of the Vietnam War. Patrols were finding what appeared to be hostess snowballs, hundreds of them dropped randomly in the jungle. A young Army dental hygienist, then Corporal Buczkowski, discovered that the snowballs were loaded with insidious spores that caused severe allergies, sneezing, and coughing, clearly biological weapons. What could be the source of these devious projectiles? Professor Buczkowski now is adamant that they are the product of extraterrestrials. We stopped in Waimea to interview Professor Buczkowski. However, we were told at the desk that they'd never heard of a Professor Buczkowski. As a matter of fact, they told us that there was no such thing as an extraterrestrial research department at the entire facility. After more than an hour explaining our activities to the local police, we headed back to the hotel. There are some that have theorized that these extremely straight trees that you see along the highway were originally grown by the extraterrestrials for firewood, and that's the reason that they came to our planet all those thousands of years ago. On the way to the coast, we stumbled upon this cave, maybe an ancient hiding place built by the native population. Another indication of some otherworldly presence here in Kona. Near the cave, I discovered this never-before-seen formation. Mainstream scientists would undoubtedly dismiss it as a blob of lava that happened to cool in this random shape. But who could deny the clear image of a fish? I was amazed at what I was seeing. Lava cooled in the shape of a mullet. And who could forget the international stir created by renowned extraterrestrial expert Lord Cortland Pangbourne when he appeared on British television and described the extraterrestrials he'd witnessed at the Yorkshire pudding lay-by.
They're a bunch of mullets.
Lord and Lady Pangbourne are old acquaintances of Professor Bones.
Lord Cortland, Lady Vivian, together they have written a book, Mullets, Extraterrestrials, and Bigfoot.
Mullets, Extraterrestrials, and Bigfoot is long out of print, but I vaguely remembered a theory postulated there. Something about mullets having bad teeth. I had a nagging feeling it was important. So, even though their Scottish accent can be difficult for some to understand,
I hear the banks are going to start charging you to put your money.
we invited the Lord and Lady to Hawaii for an interview.
They arrive here in Kailua, Kona, and are arrested at the airport.
Apparently, the Lord and Lady had 2 pounds of Turkish hashish in their luggage. After nearly a week, we found Professor Buczkowski. The men in carts had driven him from the observatory and expunged all records of his existence there. Now he's a fugitive, hiding out with his dog Flash in an ancient Winnebago deep in the rainforest next to this waterfall, the sound of which, he maintains, jams their listening devices. He immediately made it clear that tourism is a cover. It's really the wood that they want. Professor Bones and I are finally going to meet the man whose clear-headed, unbiased research brought us to Hawaii in the first place. I asked him why all the covert secrecy. What do they want all the wood for? I heard they were growing it for firewood.
Have you ever seen an alien smile? They don't want to smile. They look like, do you remember the British invasion? All those rock stars and their teeth? Aliens are worse. And the reason for that, they have no trees on their planet. When you have no trees, you have no toothpicks. So toothpicks have become extremely valuable. On their planet, you could buy a beach house on the ocean with this. The notion that they would be carting the wood back to their planet to burn it is totally absurd. They need it for the toothpicks.
Thinking his early years in the dental field may have influenced his research, I pressed for more information. Okay, so where do all the green fields and the men in carts fit in?
There have been a proliferation of green fields on this planet. In the greenest part, there is a flag. This is a guide for their ships, and that's where the men in carts load the wood from the trees that they've removed to make it a green pasture. And you know something? Since they started taking our forests to make those big green areas, their dental health has improved.
All over this island, you see and hear the phrases 10% Kona, 20% Kona, 50% Kona, and most proudly, 100% Kona. Visitors usually think this refers to the coffee, but the professor told us
it has another meaning, unadulterated by alien blood. There are very few 100% Kona, the original inhabitants of the planet. And they meet and share stories and legends and myths that are being diluted by the alien presence.
we found the remaining 100%ers, what's left of them, gathered together at a lonely beach not far from our hotel.
So our investigation ends here, on this remote beach, surrounded on all sides by the snake-like labyrinth of green fields, tended by the men in carts.